Was infected on purpose. Bob Marley didn't die from cancer. He was infected on purpose. In 1976, Bob Marley survived an assassination attempt. 2 days later, he still got on stage singing about peace. But not everyone wanted peace. He was more than a musician. He was a movement, and movements scare governments. In 1977, a strange man gifted Marley a pair of boots. When Bob tried them on, he screamed. Inside was a copper wire hidden like a trap. Soon after, doctors found a rare cancer under his toenail. Aggressive, fast, spreading. CIA documents later revealed Operation Chaos, a secret plan to disrupt black political leaders worldwide. Marley, with his influence, his defiance, his voice was a threat. His health declined rapidly. In just a few years, his body shut down. He died at 36. But some insiders believe that wire in the boot wasn't random. It was a delivery system, poisoned, designed to infect, silent, undetectable. Bob never stopped singing, but his voice faded right when the world needed it most. They didn't just want to kill the man, they wanted to silence the message. But
Shalom. First off, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect, and to all the Akim and the Akwaf tuning in. I pray that this lesson is edifying. This is the brother Halal from the Great Millstone GMS branch of Chicago coming at you with another lesson. And, this lesson isn't about, Bob Marley himself, but rather about, the situation, as you just seen, that would lead to his, death at just a young age of 36. And this really just shows you when you stand for truth in this world, you don't even necessarily have to be, a man of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. Just you voicing the injustices that's going on around you, you automatically become a target in Esau's world. And, at the end of the day, Bob Marley, he wasn't in the truth. He wasn't a man of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. He didn't call upon the names of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. But I just wanted to use this as an example, as to what we will more than likely have to go through in these last days, being the men of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. Being targeted by Esau and his government. Them wanting to silence the message of the prophets. And it would get to the point where some of us will even have to be martyrs and, die, by this truth. The scriptures say, will strive to the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. But this world is controlled and influenced by wickedness. Therefore, anything that stands up against that, and mainly the men of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, because we're the only ones standing up against this, we're looked at as a threat by the powers that be. But I want to start with the book of Psalms, chapter 82, and I'll start at verse 1, and it says, "The Most High standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judgeth among the gods. How long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Defend the poor and the fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy, deliver the poor and needy, and rid them out of the hand of the wicked." And this next verse is the main point. It says, "They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness, and all the foundations of the earth are out of course." Right, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. Why? Because the wicked is ultimately in control. Through controlling the flow of the money, controlling where it goes, the stocks that they invest in, the businesses that they own, that these people work themselves to death, just to get pennies, while these people are building up empires, getting billions of dollars. All the foundations of the earth are out of course because of Esau Edom and all of the wicked things that he's done to this earth. Promoting genetically modified foods that can alter your DNA, foods that are completely synthetic, all types of dangerous chemicals. And this earth is mourning. The entire earth, all the life on the face of the planet Earth is mourning because the wicked is currently ruling. So us as the men of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, we openly stand against that, and we're opposed to this evil system. So if the CIA made an entire operation dedicated to, basically dismantling and, unaliving these political black leaders, how much more the prophets? You don't think they have our names on files? From there, let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. I believe Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. Yeah, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. And I'll start at verse 1. It says, "For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not all right. Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave." So I just wanted to read this first verse, to let you know that this is the wicked, and this is their mindset. So let's see what their true mindset is, and let's skip down to verse 9. It says, matter of fact, verse 10, Salakia, it says, "Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth." Right, their strength is in what? The law of justice. Framing their mischief by law, writing in these wicked, egregious policies ultimately to oppress the Israelites, beginning with the men of Yahweh Shema Shai, the chosen elect, because that is the main target of Esau Edom. And although these 2/3 are going to be caught up in it, because they're ultimately the sinners, they're the ones that are transgressing the ways of Yahweh Shema Shai with no remorse. The men of the Lord, the men of Yahweh Shema Shai, we are the main targets. The outcast, so to speak. Verse 12, it says, "Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objective to our infamy the transgressings of our education." Because eventually, this system is becoming more and more, draconian by the day. And what does the word draconian mean? Let's look up the definition of the word draconian. Oh, Salakia. It says the AI overview. It says draconian is an adjective describing something extremely severe or harsh, often in context of rules or laws. The term originates from Drago, an Athenian lawmaker who created a written legal code in ancient Greece that prescribed the death penalty for a wide range of offenses. And that's coming back, especially when this MOTB rolls out, because eventually those that oppose the MOTB, that oppose the beast system, are going to be beheaded by that guillotine, that are going to be in all these concentration camps. It says, "Therefore, draconian is used to describe the measures that are considered unnecessary, strict, cruel, or oppressive." And in the modern definition, it just says of laws or the application excessively harsh or severe. So severe laws and policies. And that's the direction that this society is going in. With Trump making laws against the homeless, people getting snatched up and thrown in the concentration camps for some that they can even control. But verse 13, it says, "He professeth to have the knowledge of Yahweh Shema Shai, and he calleth himself a child of the Lord." And just us declaring ourselves the true Israelites, it offends these Edomites. They are offended by us proclaiming our true heritage, because they worked so hard for us to not know this. Like when that Amalekite rode up on the apostles, when they were prophesying and said, "Wait, how do you know this? How do you know that you're an Israelite and that you are descendants of Jacob?" They marvel at the fact that we have been awoken, that we have waken up out of sleep. Verse 14, "He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold. For his life is not like other men's, his ways are of another fashion." Right? We don't live like these people in the world. We try our best to uphold the laws that we can. We don't have sex on the Sabbath. We fast, we pray, we try to keep the Day of Atonement, which is coming up, where we afflict our souls for an entire day. We're trying our best to be found worthy. We're trying our best to be, found as a faithful servant in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Shai. We're not trying to party all day, party and bullshit, which is the mindset of these people out here, especially these jakes. We're trying to live righteously, and that offends this wicked world. We are, verse 16, we are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that the Most High is his Father. Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. So eventually, these Edomites, in the form of these, military personnel, the law enforcement, they're going to come after the men of Yahweh Bashim Shai. And you're going to have some brothers that are going to be raised up, like it says in the book of Isaiah 59, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard. But some of us, the Lord is going to actually allow these devils to actually get their hands on us and, kill some of us. And it's not, if we are of the elect, us being killed, that doesn't take us away from the graces of Yahweh Bashim Shai. If we have to die for this truth, that doesn't mean that we lost. That just means that we have a greater calling. And the scriptures say that the dead in Hamashiach shall arise first. So we have to build up our mental fortitude and our mental strength to endure these things, man. Because they're coming after us the same way they came after Bob Marley, Martin Luther King, all of these, political black power activist niggas, and they gonna come after the men of Yahweh Bashim Shai. But let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 33, and I'll start at verse 13. And it says, as the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him to render to them as liketh him best. Right, and you can read about this also in Revelations 9 and 17, where it talks about the Lord making vessels of honor and vessels of dishonor. And who's the main vessel of dishonor on the earth? Esau. And the main vessel of honor represents us, beginning with the men of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Verse 14, it says, good is set against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. And we live in a sinning world, a world that is influenced and controlled by wickedness. Therefore, those that are godly, that abstain from the wicked pleasures of this life, they're looked at, they're looked down upon in the society by the ungodly, by the sinners, man. Verse 15, so look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another. Exactly, the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly, man. Because righteousness will always look crazy in the eyes of those who are wicked and participate in the traditions of this world. So I'm going to end this off with the book of John, chapter 15 and 18. Matter of fact, I started verse, John 15 and 18. It says, if the world hates you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love its own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. Right, so we're not of this world. Even Yahweh Shai, when he was upon this earth in the flesh, what did he say? He said, ye are from beneath, I am from above. So Yahweh Shai knew that he was not of this world, and we have to have this, and we have that same sentiment. We're the servants of Yahweh Bashim Shai. We're not of this world, man. Verse 20, it says, remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his master. The servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. So the same way that they hated Yahweh Shai is the same way that they're going to hate his servants that are prophesying in his name today. So I hope this lesson was edifying. With that, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rachah Kodash, double honors, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone GMS that rule well. Kwam Yasha Allah, Wa Abad Babal.